Welcome back to Georgia Rose Connection, the YouTube channel created to help you live your best life and as a life support system for you to overcome obstacles. I'm Georgia Rose, and today I'd like to talk about the obstacle of loneliness. I think we all have times in our life when we're lonely, or we have issues with being afraid to be alone, and I want to address those today. I won't pretend to be an expert on loneliness, but I have had a tremendous amount of loneliness in my life in the last few years. I think there's a couple of different types of loneliness that I'm going to talk about today. The first is I have been lonely since I'm a child. And I'll bet there's a lot of you out there that can identify with that feeling. You know, like you feel as though you couldn't have possibly been born to the right family because you feel like you're always on the outside looking in, or you feel like you just don't belong. I always felt like that as a kid. And I think some of us are just born with that type of loneliness. And although it's painful, it's not as acute as the type of loneliness that we sometimes feel later on in our lives when we're thrust into situations where maybe perhaps for the first time in our life we find ourselves alone. The first type of loneliness I described, the type of loneliness some of us I feel are born with, I think comes from a separation of source. What do I mean by that? I mean that there's a source that created us, right? Whether you believe that's God or energy or a vibration or what evolution is, whatever you believe created us, it's something. And so I think that the loneliness we feel that we're kind of remember as far back as when we were born is a separation from that source. Think of it this way, for example. If you are an artist or a musician and you create a piece of music, of art, when you create that piece, you're putting part of yourself in it, right? It's authentic to you. And then you might gift someone that music or that piece of art and you give it away. If that piece was a living, breathing thing, it would miss you because you created it. So it's my belief that that lonely feeling, that feeling of displacement that a lot of us have, is because we're separated from our source, whatever created us. So that loneliness I have found a solution to, and that's reconnecting with source. And I believe that we connect with source through creativity and art. So if you're not doing something in your life that's creative, that connects you with source, that's why you still feel that loneliness, that feeling of you don't belong, like something's missing from your life, like you don't have anyone that you truly connect with, because you're not connected to the source that made you. So you can connect to source by being out in nature, by doing artwork, if you're an artist of some kind, or you have some kind of creative talent, if you're a musician, if you know how to play an instrument, if you know how to write music, if you're a writer, poetry. For example, I write. I'm a writer. I do a blog, the Rose blog, that you can access on my website. When I'm in that space, I'm so connected to source when I write that I lose track of time. So for me, that's connecting. It's connecting with source, and it's connecting with myself, with my higher self, which is what source is. So that's the first way to overcome that loneliness. If you felt lonely since you were a kid and you feel like you don't belong anywhere, try that. Try going out and connecting with nature or some kind of creative art. It could be jewelry making, it could be knitting, sewing, whatever. But there's something that connects you on an energetic level with the source that gave you that talent, gave you that gift. And if you have a gift, whether it's singing or dancing or playing an instrument or painting, and you're not using it, that's why you're probably not feeling too happy in your life, because you're not in alignment. And that is all a very lonely feeling. So that's the first loneliness that I want to talk about today. And I think if you can find a way to reconnect to source, reconnect to your creativity, that will eliminate a lot of that loneliness that you feel. The second type of loneliness I want to talk about today is more acute. That's when loneliness and fear and anxiety kick in, sometimes in adulthood, sometimes in midlife, when we find ourselves alone for the first time. My own personal experience is in a very, very short period of time, I found myself with many people who were dear to me removed from my life, either through death or other circumstances. And so for the first time in my life, I found myself alone, and I didn't really know how to cope with it. I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't prepared for the grief I would feel at the losses of the people dear to me, and I wasn't prepared to actually physically every day be in a space of aloneness and have no one to do anything with, no one to talk to, no one to be with. And so when that was thrust upon me suddenly in my life, it was a very long road to find the solution and the peace from that anxiety and fear and really deep despair. So if you find yourself in a place in your life where you are in that space of being lonely, being alone, and being very fearful of that, the only way to overcome that is you really have to work through it, and you have to sit with those feelings. And I know that sometimes goes against our nature, because as human beings we want to pair. We want to be in a couple. We don't want to do things alone. But we have to try to do that, and you have to sit with that feeling. And what you're going to do, if you sit with that feeling, is you have to make it your friend. And by that I mean there were many dark nights, long nights, that I was in despair, crying, didn't have anyone to hug me, didn't have anyone to be with, and I didn't think I was really going to make it through. It was that painful. I remember being in that space of grief, that space of aloneness, and I had dropped a tremendous amount of weight. I looked sickly. I was not well. And someone asked me, who hadn't seen me in a while, an acquaintance of mine came up to me and said, "Are you okay? You don't look good. Are you very sick? What's the matter with you?" And I remember replying to them, "I'm very lonely, and the loneliness is eating me alive." And they didn't understand, and they thought it was a joke, and they laughed. But it wasn't a joke for me. I was in so much pain that I actually felt physically like my insides were being eaten out from the loneliness that I was feeling, the hollow feeling of sometimes going weeks, days without a human contact, without someone hugging me or touching me or saying I love you or making me feel like I was connected. And so I understand what you're all going through if you're suffering acute loneliness. To me, that's one of the most painful feelings in the world. But what I'm here to tell you and why I'm making this video is because I've been there and I am no longer there. And the way I got out of there and to here was to go through it. I know you want to run away from it. I know you want to put all these distractions in your life so you don't have to feel it. But that's not the way to overcome it, because you're always left with the feeling again. Eventually, that feeling will be there again and again and again unless you work through it and sit with it and overcome it. So that's the solution to that type of loneliness, unfortunately. And so you really do just have to sit with it and make it your friend. And so in the previous part of the video, we were talking about that loneliness where you don't feel connected. The only way to overcome that acute loneliness, and believe me, I know, I was there, the way to overcome that acute, painful loneliness is to go through it. You can't overcome it running away from it. You can't overcome it just putting people in your life, what I call fringe people, people who are just acquaintances, distractions so that you don't feel it, because at the end of the day, you're always left with the loneliness. So what you want to do is sit with it, go through it, feel it, make it your friend. Go to the most uncomfortable edge you can stand and emerge from that. And you're going to emerge healthier and more whole than you've ever been in your life, and you're no longer going to have the fear of that controlling your life and making you make the wrong decisions and poor choices. We stay in relationships too long. We put people in our life who really don't belong there. We end up in places we really shouldn't be, all because we're afraid to be alone. So you've got to overcome that in order to bring your life to the next level. And that next level is living authentically. So that acute loneliness comes from no connection with another human being. You could have a boyfriend, you could have a girlfriend, you could have a mother, you could have a father, you could have children, you could have siblings, but you may still be in acute loneliness because you don't have a connection with those people. And the reason why you do not have a connection with those people is because they are not authentic to your authenticity. The authenticity that you will only find when you're in the space of being alone and working through your loneliness. So I hope that makes sense to you. When you're alone, you discover more things about yourself. When you're alone, you sit through those feelings and it makes you stronger. And what you're really learning about is yourself, and what you're really finding out is what your authentic self is. And that's one of the first steps of really finding your life purpose, is sitting in the loneliness of it. Because even if you have a very full life, and on the outside right now it looks like you have everything. Maybe you have money, maybe you have a beautiful home, maybe you're president of all the local organizations and everyone respects you. And at the end of the day, when you go home and you turn out the light and you get in bed, you cry because you're so lonely. It's because those things don't connect with you. It's not in alignment with your true authenticity. And how do I know that? Because I was that person. It was only by facing my demons of loneliness and of being alone that I found out what really was my authentic purpose in life. And I'm living it right now, talking to you. So, going out to the clubs every night, having one-night stands, drinking to numb the pain, drugging, going places just to keep busy, bringing people in your life that you really don't even like but that you want to have around because it's better than being alone. Those aren't the solutions. The solution is standing in your own power, by yourself, confronting the loneliness, confronting the demon, slaying the dragon, and doing things alone. For instance, if you love to hike, and you never go hiking because you don't have anybody to go hiking with, you need to go hiking by yourself. I'm sorry to tell you this, but you have to go do it. You're alone, go hiking. Big deal. And then, once you're comfortable with that, join a hiking club and go hiking with other people. And you will connect with them because you love to do that. And you're doing something you love while meeting other people. If you love rock and roll and you love to play the guitar, pick up the guitar and start strumming away. And then once you get in that space of connection and the loneliness goes away, then go out and seek people to do it with. So that's my advice about overcoming loneliness. Something else that helped me tremendously was getting a pet. My dog Sparky and I oftentimes just go to the park when I have nothing else to do and nobody's around. I've spent many a Sunday afternoon at the dog park with Sparky, and it's put a smile on my face and really made me feel connected with him, with the universe, and with myself. So remember, loneliness is not being alone, it's lack of a connection. You don't need a million people around you to not feel lonely. You just need one person that you really connect with from your heart. And if you're in a relationship right now and you don't feel connected to that person, it's probably because they're not in alignment with who you are and your authentic self. When you find that authentic self, then you find the partner you connect with. Because when you don't know who that is, you can't connect with anyone on a real level. You may have the same interests, you may be compatible, but there's not an authentic connection there. An authentic connection, when you really know who you are, and someone steps into your space and you step into theirs, and you come together, and you have this wonderful connection on an authentic level. It's not about what you have, who you are politically, what you do for a living. It's not about any of those things. It's about your heart and their heart connects in a way that you completely understand each other. You do things for each other without wanting anything in return. You have a give and flow between you that's just really beautiful. And you know that if you're going to fall, that person's going to catch you. Because it's not about your paycheck, and it's not about what you drive, and it's not about the meal you just cooked. It's not about the way you wear your hair. It's not about how you look on their arm. It's about genuine authenticity and living your most passionate life together. So the first step to finding that partner and overcoming loneliness is you have to sit with it. You have to feel who you are in that loneliness. Make friends with it. Take your hand and be your own best friend. And once you're your own best friend, your life's going to get so good. You're going to attract the right person for you that will help you overcome that loneliness of not having a connection with another person. But first you have to overcome the loneliness of your separation from Source and your separation with yourself. So connect with Source today by doing something creative. Connect with yourself by having that creativity. Work with your hands, sing, use your voice, create something. Or if you're not very talented or creative, then go out in nature. Take a walk in the park. Take a walk by the ocean. Look at the beautiful blue sky. Go out in the rain. Open your mouth. Taste it. In all of those moments that you connect, you find your authentic self. I hope this helps you on one of your first steps to defining your life purpose. I also do energetic readings and life purpose readings. If you'd like more information, please go on my website, georgiaroseconnection.com. Thank you so much. I feel so connected to all of you through this site because I am in alignment with my life purpose. I hope that this video helped you today. It helped me tremendously to be able to impart this wisdom on you. And this channel is about us. This channel isn't mine. It's about a global community coming together to help each other. So please do subscribe and leave your comments and feedback below, because that's what guides me as to what should be on this channel and what you want me to talk about and what others need help with. And maybe we can help each other if we start a line of comments and feedback. So thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you again soon.